thing is, I do believe there was talk about these things. I believe if we study history, the Confederates were able to shoot pterodactyls, back in the Civil War, and they spread these things out. Anybody can look it up online.
Google it
They
yourself.
spread these things out, and this is a historical fact. So, they spread this thing out, and it's got a huge winglet. It was a pterodactyl they shot. So, of course, these things have been around. Now, they went extinct, obviously, slowly, but surely. And so...
What I'm saying is Jesus wrote a dinosaur to work. That's history. It's in the Bible. How to Train Your Dragon.
Historical facts.
And if you don't believe it, do your own research. Pull up Google. You'll find the picture, I promise.
Oh my God.
Thank you, John Gleason, Godless engineer, for gifting me this beautiful moment. Y'all remember when they tried to cancel Steven Spielberg for posing with an animatronic triceratops animal rights activist?
Back it up.
Hit it from the back.
Cloaca. Historical facts.
Eat my ass, BP. You're down here bailing on the rest of us because you don't want to process your grief and shame like a normal person by drinking and mistreating strangers.
No, Rick. It is you who must nibble my cloaca, or bird asshole.
Everyone knows what a cloaca is.
back in the Civil War, and they spread these things out. Anybody can look it up online. They spread these things out, and this is a historical fact. So, they spread this thing out, and this has got a huge winglet. It's a pterodactyl they shot. So, of course, these things have been around. Now, they went extinct, obviously, slowly, but surely. And so...
Paul Bunyan was sharing some Funyuns with his pet velociraptor.
Whoa.
Oh, you thought it was an ox? Roll back the clock. Let me knock the socks off. Historical facts.
I didn't cut out. You heard me. You a pervert or something? Okay.
What's up, heathens? How ya doing? I'm the Godless Engineer, and I critically analyze apologist claims to give you the best arguments and information so that you can stand up and use your voice. Okay. I got the notifications on. Daniel M. already in there with the notifications.
Just a little bit of money.
The super chats. David says good night. Good night there, David. I hope you have a great weekend, and I guess we'll see you next week. Now, hopefully tech difficulties are not going to be an issue this week, but, it may have other plans. Tonight, though, we are going to be taking a look at J. Warner Wallace, detective dipshit himself, try and establish that God doesn't make mistakes in his design, and I guess that would translate to other areas too, where we would expect a perfect creator to be generating perfect designs and things of that nature. So God doesn't make mistakes. Casey said that her fat ass is a mistake. My fat ass is a mistake too there, Casey. Anyways, now, I don't exactly, I've watched the video, so I know how he goes about it, but there's a lot of different ways that apologists like to approach this kind of topic. Like, if God created everything, designed us, and created the entire universe, why do we see so many things that seem like mistakes in nature? And so J. Warner Wallace is going to do his best to attempt to answer this. And we're here for the ride. So if you want to fuck around and find out why God doesn't have to create perfect designs and that he still makes no mistakes, then please stay tuned. All right. So, there's that out of the way. If you guys don't know, here on the channel, we have a membership thing that we call the Skeptic Mafia. And if you would like to help us donate to some great causes and retain our shittiest channel on YouTube, sort of title that we've given to ourselves, then become a Skeptic Mafia member today. You get to pick the video that we watch on Fridays from a list of videos that I give you, and tonight's video is the result of a poll. So thank the Skeptic Mafia for, you know, putting you guys through J. Warner Wallace this week. What was that, honey? I'm on the highway to hell. Casey said, not me. I didn't vote for this bitch. Quentin Van Booven, with his Highway to Hell donation, says, sending in my weekly tithe. I hope that Wallace used better reasoning as a detective, or we might need to re-examine any case he worked. Yeah, probably. If you don't know, here on the channel, we donate a portion of our proceeds to charity. So if you want to help us donate to a charity, which we haven't selected a charity for this month, but we will be letting you guys know soon which charity we are going to be donating to. But typically we select charities that are rated pretty well on third-party rating websites like Charity Navigator, and there's some other sites that we use too, but we try to donate to the best charities out there. So if you want to help us donate, then consider becoming a Skeptic Mafia member. Also, you can watch our videos and send super chats. There's also this super thanks thing now where you could do a super thanks, and that's also appreciated. But a portion of all the proceeds that we make here on the channel, a portion of them will go to a charity of some sort. We got a couple of member chats to start off with. Perplex Papa says, and you can get these neat free ways to bug John. Yeah, I can't wait for the notifications to get caught up to, you know, being able to pop these up. And then Drew's book review says, books are God, that is all. Thank you so much there, Drew. So tonight we've got a full show. We got Brosifa stopping by. We've also got some Today I Learned. Yeah, I know everybody loves Brosifas. We got some Today I Learned. We got some comments to discuss. And then we've got our video to review. So before we begin all of that, though, somebody that has done a few things for the channel here, like the nice little transitions, like the Today I Learned transition and the comments of the day little intro. Alif, his girlfriend Polly Pockets, it's her birthday this either today or this week, but he asked for me to give her a shout out, so here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Polly Pockets. Happy birthday to you. Yeah, you love it. I mean, I'm lucky you love it because you bought it, so no refunds here. All right, there you go. Happy birthday there, Polly Pockets. So now that we sung happy birthday, let's get on into the Today I Learned. We've got to get the ukulele back out. Oh yeah, what I'm drinking before we transition and everything. I'm drinking what I'm calling it a Dr. Peppermint Cherry. So it's Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar Cherry flavor, and then some peppermint moonshine. Oh, and it's Jane's birthday on Sunday. All right, let's do it. Everybody loud and proud. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear I had to make it. I keep putting this fucking down.
Like I need this.
I do. Vance Blue says GE proving with his drink that he really is godless. Lol. All right, let's get to the Today I Learned, shall we? Today I learned. All right. How many of you guys out there have seen the movie Nope? Yeah, honey, you remember the movie Nope?
I do. We don't have to watch it again.
It was a good movie. It had an interesting twist in it. Anyways, in the movie Nope, which takes place out in like near California and stuff, around that area, there, like at the very beginning of the movie, mysterious stuff falls out of the sky. Right, and then into the movie, a bunch of like blood and guts rain down on this house, and so like that makes I initially thought of this, and that's today I learned about the Kentucky meat shower. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, it happens on UK's campus where men just shower women with dicks.
Wait. On the UK campus, there's an event called the Meat Shower, where
I said it happens every day.
it happens. Oh, it happens every day.
Mm-hmm.
They just
show their dicks.
the UK men that go to the University of Kentucky just walk around and show their dicks to women all the time. Apparently, according to my wife, who went there. Yep, who went there. Apparently, that's something that happens. Anyways. Today I learned about the Kentucky meat shower, where mysterious chunks of meat fell from the sky in 1876. They weren't, and I remember reading about this. I mean, it's on Wikipedia, so you guys can go and look it up. But basically, they don't know, at the time, of course, they didn't know what kind of meat it was. And they even, they took a closer look at it, like did some sciencey shit about it and everything. And, they still like they didn't know. Like I think they came up with something to do with like vultures and just because what the vultures will do if they feed on something and then they're in the air, they could vomit it up or something like that. I don't know. There was a lot of different ideas of what this could be, but it makes me think of the movie Nope. So. Nope. I gotta tell you, this Dr. Pepper and Peppermint, Dr. Peppermint, is like really good.
Is it better with the cherry?
Can't really taste the cherry over the peppermint, but it's pretty good. If we get enough super chats tonight, I'll crack open this bad boy. I don't know if y'all can see it. Yeah, I know. But you can still read it. Barely. No, not really. Not really? This is hard Mountain Dew. It's 0 sugar, so I can drink it, but it's basically like a White Claw, but Mountain Dew. Where's my Mountain Dew? Let me smell your breath. I don't know if anybody knows what I'm talking about with that, but anyways. All right. So that's it for that today I learned. I hope you guys learned something about that today. Here's something that's not safe for work. Today I learned that male genital transplant surgeons exclude the testicles because the deceased organ donor would technically be the biological father with regard to future pregnancies. So, like, if something happens to your junk and you got to replace it with another dude's junk, they don't replace the testicles, the testes. So I guess you're shooting blanks forever if you're unfortunate enough to like get fucked up down there. But anyways, yeah, that was kind of like, I feel like this is one of those things where you're like, oh, that makes sense. But, I've also never thought about that. Like, what happens if you get the dick replaced? Does it come with testes? But anyways, that's interesting. Next up, I don't know if you guys like Brussels sprouts, but I love Brussels sprouts. I love me some sprouts. You love you some sprouts, honey?
I mean, I love them how I make them.
You like it how you make them?
Just a little bit of money.
Zachary Lahaki says, here's to just a little bit of money for John for that beer. Also, Johnny Ripine said, I like big peaches and I cannot lie. Yahweh. That could also be booty. I don't think I've missed any others. Nope, I think that's it. Yep. Thank you so much there, Zachary. I have an imaginary number that I want to get to in Super Chats, and if I hit it, then I'll drink the hard Mountain Dew. I'll do the dew in a hard way. So anyways, if you like Brussels sprouts in any kind of way, today I learned that Brussels sprouts used to have a bitter taste until breeders in the 90s started cross-pollinating different varieties in order to remove the chemicals that cause the bitterness. The result of their work has led to Brussels sprouts' recent culinary popularity. Polly Pocket sent in a super chat saying, I've never eaten a Brussels sprout. Crispy Brussels sprouts are just fucking delicious. And I mean, like, I never thought...
To Timothy, what the fuck ever? Shut the fuck up.
I never thought that I would be the kind of person that would be like, give me some Brussels sprouts. Give me some crispy Brussels sprouts and I will be fucking happy. But the way that KC makes the crispy Brussels sprouts, she puts some Parmesan in it. As well as cuts it up pretty fine, but it makes it taste absolutely wonderful. So I'm all for the Brussels sprouts. Paprika. Yeah, I do like paprika for some fucking reason.
And a little bit of cayenne.
And some cayenne. I mean, it's good. Anyways. All right. So that's going to be it for the Today I Learns. But you know what's next?
What?
Comments of the day. Comments of the day. Prepare to facepalm yourself in the next week. All right. So now we got comments to go through, which we got to put on our comment conspiratorial comment background here. So first up, Crispy said, you should really consider coaching your guests on setting up a key light, turning off their ceiling light, and making sure they're speaking directly into their fucking microphones. Can't believe this free shit that I'm watching and all this entertainment I'm getting from this free content that I'm not being charged for. I just have to tell you that you need to discipline your fucking guests. This was said on a video that I cut out a clip of a larger interview where I was on another person's channel. Can you imagine the audacity of my fat ass going on their channel and being like, listen, bud, if I'm going to be on here, we need to spice up your fucking whole thing right here, okay? Spice, whatever the fuck. We just got to get you looking better, okay? So how about you go out, buy a $300 key light. That's right, you got to spend $300 on that shit, okay? I don't want to see any soft light box lights. I've got those, but I mean, you need a key light, okay? Key it, get that, and then turn off that ceiling light back there, and I will wait for you to return from Best Buy. Then we can do this interview on your channel. Yeah, and I mean, I think it would also be completely unreasonable for me to ask somebody to come on, for them to come on my channel and be like, listen, I really want to do this interview, but we got to glow your ass up a little bit with a key light. Okay, you got $300? No? Oh, well, shit. I guess you can't be on my channel then. I guess this interview's over. Thank you and goodbye, mister. Yeah, it does feel like a go fuck yourself moment, huh? But anyways, I do appreciate constructive criticism when it's given, but I feel like this is a little bit unreasonable. So Crispy said, I appreciate it, I guess, but at the same time, I'm just not going to do that to other people. All right, so this was on my TikTok. If you guys don't know, I have a TikTok. It's just a tickety talk. It's called Godless Engineer. Yeah, I mean, who knew? I mean, that makes sense, but you know, who knew? Anyways, so if you want to go over there and follow me on the Tickety Talks, if you do Tickety Talks, then do that. But anyways, Quantum Quirk says, sin is morally wrong and affects you and others. The law of God is written upon the heart of man. Nothing about it is imaginary. Okay, so for number one, sin is morally wrong and affects you and others. Sin is something that is a concept created by and central to religion. And so it's important to know that sin does not necessarily translate to morality or being morally wrong. Now, people that believe in sin generally consider that it's morally wrong to sin, but then you have to consider what sin is. If you're a Christian, or not just Christian, but of the Abrahamic faiths, then you believe that sin is just transgressing God's will. So if God said to do something, then you need to do it. Otherwise, it's bad. And I distill it down like that so that it highlights how not centered on morality it is. Like how it's not anti-morality, it's amoral. Like it doesn't care about the actual moral implications of whatever thing God commands. Like it's not like God's commandments translates directly to morally good and bad things as we understand them. So sin itself is amoral, and it's just a standard to which you are held by God. And while some things that God commands can be traced to certain moral opinions that we have now, or more moral, not decisions, but what word am I looking for? Fuck this whole COVID brain thing. Yeah, I know. Moral conclusions. Different moral conclusions that we've come to, while sometimes God's commandments can map to that, it doesn't necessarily mean that sin is concerned with the morality of your actions. And it affecting you and others, it affects you if you believe in sin, and it affects others that also believe in sin, but sin does not affect like other people that don't believe in sin. So like, me, I don't believe in sin. And so therefore, if I transgress God's opinion about shit, it's not affecting me. Like that's something that somebody else believes. It's not something that I believe. The law of God is written upon the heart of man. Then why do you need a fucking book to illuminate it? I feel like if the law of God is written upon your heart, then you wouldn't need some bumblefuck to put it down in a book so that you can know this shit. Because some of these things are not naturally intuitive. Like one of the commandments from God in the Old Testament is to not boil a goat in its mother's milk. Now, it's not that I have the inclination to do this at all, but how would one know that that's a morally bad way to cook, I guess, a goat or a meal? Oh, yes, I got the book, but he says that it's written upon our hearts. No, not that one. That one's not. It's the ones that we all agree are bad. that are written on our hearts. It's like, fucking duh. Well, except for the people that are like psychopaths and sociopaths and people that don't have like a normal understanding of moral intuition or don't have the same moral intuitions as most of the populace. Those people are probably created by Satan. Let's just be perfectly fucking honest at this point, okay? And then nothing about it is imaginary. Well, let's consider what imaginary is. Imaginary would be something that is fabricated in somebody's mind that does not exist in reality. Sin is a standard by which God holds us to in certain religions. These religions are created by men. So I feel like sin being imaginary is a reasonable statement to make, because if God was created by somebody, like the idea of God, and especially the idea of what God's standards are, was created by somebody, and it as far as we can tell, doesn't map to anything in reality, like it's not present in reality as far as we could tell, then it would seem to be imaginary. So I don't think that it's unreasonable to consider it imaginary. All right. And then we got just a couple more comments before we get to Brosifas. Here's one of these nice cell phones. I don't know if you guys know, there's this conservative cell phones account. There's also a liberal cell phones account that I was featured on at one point. But it's the liberal cell phones one is not all that funny. The conservative one is pretty funny. This guy, Polly Walnuts, who paid for his badge, not shitting on paying for the badge or the extra stuff that comes with the badge or anything like that, but you know, it doesn't mean that he's verified or anything or that anything like that. Anyways, life or death benefit. Wow, that's some funny ass shit. I'll be okay without any mRNA pulsing through my body. Also, can't be anti-vax if it's not a vaccine. It's a shot! Vaccines actually prevent you from acquiring the disease you're being inoculated against. It's okay to be wrong. There's a lot wrong with this. So, mRNA or messenger RNA is very integral to how cells in our body operate just in general. Like it, huh? Their brain is about the size of the walnut, so their name suits them. You're right, honey. It spot fucking on. So, I mean, regardless of whether he wants it to be coursing through his body, it is being utilized in the cells, his cells' natural operation. That's just how cells work. Of course, he's specifically talking about the mRNA vaccines, which not all of the COVID-19 vaccines are mRNA. But the ones that were first coming out, they definitely were, and I think a couple of them probably still are now, right? Yeah. They're mRNA vaccines. But basically, in case you're wondering what the mRNA vaccine does, is that it uses messenger RNA in order to get cells to produce the spike protein. Huh? What did I say? Oh, NRA. I can just see in the cells, it's like people coming out with 6-shooters. Fuck this disease. Yeah, America. Anyways, mRNA. So the vaccine would introduce this mRNA so that our cells could be used to produce spike proteins when they go to build, proteins. They would produce the spike proteins, and then our body would have a natural reaction to the spike proteins and develop antibodies against them. Since when COVID-19,
donating this much only makes me drink more.
That's right. So COVID-19 uses the spike proteins as a way to get into your cells and reproduce. And so if your immune system is attacking the spike proteins rather than the actual whole COVID-19, the spike protein, dismantling the spike proteins from the COVID-19 virus is will protect you against it, right? And that gets me into what's down here. Vaccines actually prevent you from acquiring the disease you're being inoculated against. That's a misconception that a lot of people have, because vaccines don't prevent you from getting it. The vaccines help you mitigate the symptoms of it and don't allow it to propagate to the point where you could succumb to it or be hospitalized for it. It helps your immune system bulk up against the disease. So, there's that. Also, it is anti-vax. It is a vaccine, even though it is a shot. Like, I don't know how he expects vaccines to be introduced to your system. I don't know if he thinks that they could be like pills. Administered, sorry. That's a better way to put it. Administered to you. Like, I don't know if he thinks that they can come in pill form, which maybe some could be. I really don't know. But for the most part, you can cut it up into cocaine. You just I'm protected against COVID. Excuse me, this is a Waffle House. Now we're used to that kind of action, but just not from, a vaccine. Anyways, so yeah, this guy is just totally off his rocker. I mean, everything he says about it's wrong. And then we got Cy10 Bruggen, or not Cy. Crap, I forgot. Oh. He's actually a Christian evolutionary biologist, and I can't remember his name right now for the life of me. Let's see. We got Johnny Rapine, who says, back to today I learned there should have been an extra check for organ donors and the recipients to donate their BA11s.
Just a little bit of money.
And be post-mortem sperm donors. That would be interesting. And then Green Lantern Tomato Chan Kitchen Duty Arc says, pardon me, sir, this is a Wendy's. Anyways, he's an evolutionary biologist who's also a Christian, and he thinks that evolution points to God. But he says science cannot answer all questions, but the ones it does answer lead directly to faith in God. And I understand that he sees it this way. I just simply don't. Like, if we have a natural explanation for something, that seems to point away from God, because with God, we're expecting some kind of suspension of the natural order of reality, right? We're looking for something that's indicative of God. If we have a natural explanation for something, that means that it doesn't need any kind of intervention from an intelligent being or a sentient individual or anything like that to cause that to happen or for that to happen as it always does happen or occur. And so I don't understand how this could lead us to faith in God, because it seems to be able to explain things away without the need for God. So why?
Donating this much only makes me drink more.
So why would you need faith in God if you can explain something without God? That's what I don't understand here. I don't understand why the sign says, you need to go left or go right. And then this guy's like, well, I'm just going to head left. And it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Jester says, was there some mass panic hysteria around alphabet soup that these folks are so triggered by letters? I have no idea. No. So I don't know if anybody watching on the replay or even right now in the side chat, you guys want to tell me how science or having natural explanations for things leads to faith in God. I would love to know that. I would love to know why that happens. without the presupposition of God is required for nature, because we haven't proven that. What we do know is that nature can operate on its own without any kind of help or need for intervention from any intelligent being. It just operates. It just occurs. So it would be very interesting for me to hear why this should lead me to believe in God. Caden says I'm just interrupting you for no reason. But I do have low standards.
2 Timothy, what the fuck ever? Shut the fuck up.
for this particular thing. So, there we go. Huh? No, honey, you're not a low standard, but I do have low standards for beer, obviously. Well, this is basically a glorified White Claw. It's a Mountain Dew White Claw.
2 Timothy, what the fuck ever? Shut the fuck up.
Oh my God, what?
That was so rude.
I'm so sorry about that, everybody. Fuck. That's the...
Hey, I don't know if y'all know this, but every time you donate, the Lord cries.
Fuck yeah, he does. Lord cries when he made this. That's for fucking sure. Oh man, that was a shit. Quentin Van Boeven asks, is it any good? Well, it tastes a lot like when I don't know if you guys remember me mixing a light beer with Mountain Dew. Well, in this case, Mountain Dew Zero or Diet Mountain Dew or whatever. And so it tastes a lot like that. I mean, it's like Mountain Dew, but it's got that little zing of some alcohol to it. And I mean, other than it not being like fruity and it being more of a citrusy, because Mountain Dew, that's about the only difference.
I mean, the cherry and the watermelon are fruity.
The cherry. Oh yeah, the I do have black cherry and watermelon flavors. And Baja Blast. So this is regular Mountain Dew, so it just has a little bit of a ting there. I could see.
Dipshit. This person just bought you a beer.
I could see somebody accidentally getting drunk on this if 5% alcohol gets you drunk. Like, if you can pound enough back for the 5% alcohol to make a difference, then yeah, you can get drunk off of it. But anyways, we got a couple of super chats. Johnny Repine says, I may not want to pass on my genes now, but I'm not going to stop someone else from doing so if they want to after I'm dead. Or D-E-D, dead. Tomato Chan Zumiti, the Zoomington Zoomer, says, I was intelligently designed. Tomatoes are perfect. Fuck. Actually, I had a grilled cheese this weekend. This week. And it had a tomato on it. And then yesterday I had tomato soup. Johnny Repine says creationism is like science with extra steps. I agree. Although this guy's not a creationist. This guy right here, he's not a creationist necessarily. He's more of a theistic evolutionist. He thinks that God started the entire process and then evolution took over. So he's very much against creationists in that he defends evolution, but at the same time he thinks evolution should lead you to believe in God. So there's that. All right. Well, that's going to be it for the comments today, and hopefully I won't be burping anymore. But next we've got Brosifa. He's coming to explain some shit.
Love Brosifa.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to go get him. I hope you guys are ready.
Shitty ass science.
We're gonna answer some science shit really wrong.
Did I fucking hear a train going by or something? We don't live by tracks no more.
It was just G.E. belching.
He burped?
Yeah, right on stream. I'm not rude.
What a fucking savage that one is.
He's an asshole.
I know. He's in the bathroom taking a shit right now, and I gotta tell you, woo, he blows that motherfucker up. Anyways, this is not appropriate. He does blow it up, though. Yeah, I'm surprised that you still clean up after him. I mean, shit. Command Cyborg says, God, the Rube Goldberg master? Yep. God is the Rube Goldberg master. I mean, I'm telling you, so y'all don't fuck around about that, okay? Anyways, what we got here is, why don't giants cast shadows? Okay, now listen. This is the Nephilim created by God, all right? Obviously, they're in a little bit more modern of a get-up there, but you understand what he's putting down here. These are Nephilim. These are the people that were sent down to the earth to fuck the human women. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't the dick a bit too big to fit into human women? And also, why?
Just a little bit of money.
Also, there were women Nephilim? Yes, there were. Normally, the Nephilim would fuck each other, but then on occasion, some of the more, the dwarf Nephilim, I think sometimes they could have just the right junk in order to procreate with the women's. And the reason why they don't have shadows is because God specially made them to not have shadows. They can defy physics, just like God can defy physics. They're from Neverland? No, they're from heaven. What the fuck are you talking
this
about
lunch
Neverland?
only
Which
makes
level
me
of
drink
heaven
more.
is Neverland? They don't have shadows, so they're from Neverland?
Just a little bit of money.
You know that Peter Pan's not a real story, right?
You know God's not a real story, right?
God is a real story! Quit! 2 Timothy, what the fuck ever, something or another, shut the fuck up! Okay, God is real! Here, look, this is... Y'all are always asking for photographic proof. Well, look, motherfucker! Right there! Okay, look at it! It's giants! They're on the earth! I don't know how else you can explain this picture except for Nephilim are walking among us, and they've gotten so much taller now. But they could still fuck human women on occasion. I'm just saying. Listen, we got some super chats. I'm going to do them because, fuck GE. Joe Smith says, thanks for the gift membership. Much love. Thank you, Joe, for being a gifted member. Drew's book review says, Brosifa, when are you going to start paying GE and KC rent? Hey, my lovely personality is rent enough, okay? Don't look at me like that. Listen, y'all have every chance to kick me out every single week, and you just keep giving me my blanket back.
I know, I wash it and I take care of you.
I know. So y'all don't want to kick me out. But, I don't pay rent, so I can only guess that y'all just love my winning personality. Johnny Rapine says, MD 2020 now comes in cans because they want to kill people.
MD 2020 is the worst.
Apparently, MD 2020 is the worst.
It's cheap and lots of people drink it at college, but...
So MD 2020 is cheap?
Yes.
Might have to see what I can mix that with.
No.
KC says, no, you don't. I'm not paying for that. And, of course, I don't work, so I just got to go with what she'll buy me. Anyway, oh, shit.
I'll buy you Bud Light, but I will not buy Mad Dog. There will be no Mad Dog 2020 in this house.
There's never going to be Mad Dog 2020 in this house?
No, hell no.
Sounds like bullshit to me.
Donating this munch only makes me drink more.
Plus it has a lot of sugar.
Oh, MD 2020 has a lot of sugar?
I'm sure it does.
Well, I'm kind of allergic to sugar or some shit like that, so I guess I just can't have it. I'll just stick with my liquor. The gay agenda! It says don't tell Brosifa about Photoshop. Listen, I know all about Photoshop. I can spot a Photoshop piece of shit from a mile away. All them Mormons doing this Joseph Smith, seeing Moroni. There ain't no angel named Moroni in Judaism or in Christianity, so I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. All of that is just Photoshop artistry, okay? But this shit right here is real, okay? Nephilim exist and they walk among us. Why am I getting lip out of you?
Because I paid the bills.
1 Timothy 2:12, shut the fuck up. Whatever, I don't know what the Timothy verse, and then...
You're such a good Christian.
I am a good Christian. I get on my knees and suck Jesus' dick every day. I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't even know the verse.
I don't even know. It's in Timothy. One of the Timothys. And it's early in it, like verse 12 or some shit, something or another. I'm just saying, God says to shut up. It's not me, it's God. Right. Okay? Anyways, heathens, I'm going to get out of here because GE's got to respond to some dumb shit or something or another. I don't know. I fucking hate the Detective Dipshit, so, you know, I'm all for him tearing his ass to shreds. But anyways, these are Nephilim and they are real. Okay? Shit, don't make me get out my Bible and start praying loudly in the next room. Just close the door, that's all you're going to say?
Yeah, I don't want to know what you do.
Isn't saying prayers to an atheist like throwing holy water on Satan?
No, I don't give a shit.
Well, you know, we put shit in the water, right?
I don't touch your water. And you're not Catholic.
Yeah, but, I mean, they have the best holy water around.
They have holy water.
And it's the best. It's got the just the right amount of fecal content.
And priest jizz?
Probably. Anyways, I'm going to go, heathens. I will see y'all later. And I'm going to do some shit or another. I don't know how this stuff works anymore. Fuck. Here we go, maybe. Brosifa, what the fuck did you do? I just told your woman to shut up. I was going to pray for her and I was going to cause her to burst into flames. Like that there.
Why would you want me to burst into flames? I cook food for you.
Hey, who's that woman in the Bible that struts through the town center naked? Jezebel! She's a Jezebel! I'm sorry, I will take my ass back to my room and rethink my choices while I'm curled up with my blanket. You know, you better be glad there, Brosifus. Because, you know, Casey will kick you out at the moment's notice.
What? I am a merciful woman.
You're even with all the shit that he just said, you're a better person than I am. Anyways. Oh, yeah. So obviously this is just perspective. It's two skydivers, and you know they posed in a certain way, and somebody took a picture, and obviously they look like giants because of perspective. I heard the thing about Photoshop. I mean, I would think that this would be easily recreatable in Photoshop too, which it may have been in Photoshop. I don't know, but. I don't know. I could totally believe somebody would have enough, like a fast enough camera shutter speed to be able to capture an image like this as they're falling. So, have y'all seen those really cool videos where the crap, I forget what thing it is, but it's like the refresh rate on a video camera, right, is synced with the propellers on a helicopter, so that it looks like it's just floating down and it's not actually. rotating.
It happens sometimes on TV shows.
Yeah, it does. It happens on TV shows, is what Casey said. So it's interesting. Thank you for whoever subscribes so that y'all can talk shit in the chat. Feel free to keep talking shit in there. Just be respectful about the shit talking. All right. Y'all ready to review the video? Are y'all ready to see proof that God doesn't make any mistakes with his designs? Ah, shit! Fuck. Walking in and seeing his face up there on the screen is a bit scary. All right, so if y'all don't know, J. Warner Wallace is a former homicide detective and cold case detective. Now he's an apologist because he was an atheist who hated religion, but then he decided to investigate religion and was convinced by their bad arguments. And so now he's a speaker and he's an apologist, he's an author, he writes a lot of books that say the same shit over and over again in different ways. What? He's a fucking idiot. Casey did not vote for this person, so you can't blame her. But we are going to be getting into what his proof is for God not making any mistakes. So let's see what he's got.
What about if God created everything and he designed us? It would seem that the design would have to be perfect. Mm-hmm. But as it is, we're wearing glasses.
Right.
Sorry, we get a super chat coming through.
Maybe you should quit drinking all that beer, G.E.
I will continue drinking beer. Ish. Beer-ish. Which would be the Mountain Dew shit. This is a moonshine. Peppermint moonshine and Dr. Pepper. So, MathWiz says, there's a similar experiment you can do with a camera and a strobe light that makes it look like water droplets from a shower are floating in the air. Or, like, I've even seen it to where it's timed perfectly to make it look like the raindrops are, like, going in reverse. I've seen that, too. I've also seen the standing still thing as well.
Right, so apparently the design isn't perfect. So what would you say to
I
that?
actually like your glasses better than mine.
Oh, thank you.
Let's change it.
Oh. Whoa.
I don't know. I kind of like mine too now, actually. They're good on you.
I mean, just take a look. They look like the exact same glasses. Or not, maybe they're not exactly the same frames or anything like that, but they're black rimmed glasses. And I can guarantee you they don't have the same prescription. So yeah, that guy was probably like, whoa, his eyesight is fucking bad. Can you even read without these?
Tate.
Yeah. Oh man, that actually works pretty well even now with Andrew Tate. Tater's gonna Tate, because he's a dipshit. Anyways, Jay-Z Meister says, I'm ready to see some proof that God makes no mistakes as I wear glasses for my perfect eyes. Maybe giving me bad eyes was more of a joke and less of a mistake. Oh God, you jokester. Well, Jay-Z, he is going to be directly addressing that issue, so you will get your answer tonight. Yeah. But anyways, I mean, I don't see a difference in their glasses. I feel like this was a very, I don't know what kind of moment I'm trying to describe it as, but it just seems to be very inconsequential thing that's said here.
Yeah, so sometimes what people will do when it comes to this design argument, the pushback, I try to cover this in the book, is that, well, wait a minute, if you're saying God is the designer, then why do we see imperfection in design? And wouldn't we assume that all imperfection in design would be eliminated if God is in fact the designer? And sometimes, for example, one of the things that's offered is the Panda. The Panda's Thumb is actually a website called the Panda's Thumb that kind of makes this argument.
Now, I haven't checked out the Panda's Thumb website, but
Donating this much only makes me drink more.
So the panda's thumb, I believe it's a book, but it's also a website. And this is, I mean, it's not about designs being perfect. Like this is an imperfect design kind of thing. It's an argument against anti-evolution apologists, which kind of seems like J. Warner Wallace finds himself in the same camp as them, because he seems to be denying that evolution, at least on the larger scale, what they call macroevolution, it's all just evolution. Like the thing I say is evolution is evolution is evolution. Like, it doesn't matter if it's small changes or if it's big changes, it's all evolution. Of course, the small changes we could understand as adaptations, but these adaptations over time turn into big changes, and that is also evolution. But the whole panda's thumb thing is more an argument against the intelligent designer kind of thing, as more of a proof for evolution, because the panda's thumb is an example of what is it called? It's when two different animals, they develop the same traits independently of one another. It's called like coevolution. Let's see. What is it called? Convergent evolution is what the term is. It's convergent evolution. And that's where you have two, obviously they're somewhat related, depending on how far back you go, but you got these two species that independently develop certain traits. And you have the panda, who's got the panda's thumb, right? It's not opposable or anything like that, but it's very adept at stripping bamboo so that the panda can eat it, because that's its food supply. Well, there's another group of panda-like animals that diverged from the common ancestor that they have with the pandas that he's talking about, and they independently developed this same kind of thumb. So that they could strip bamboo, because that was their primary source of food. And so this is an example of convergent evolution taking millions and millions of years. And this shows that God did not intelligently design all species as they exist now. And so that's what the panda's thumb is used for. It's not used as like, oh, this is an example of an imperfect design, unless you're going to use the fact that these pandas that exist now are a completely different species than the common ancestor they have with other animals in that particular clade. So, I feel like J. Warner Wallace is going to dig himself into a very deep hole pretty quickly, because he is going to try to come at this a very complex topic from what his simplistic understanding is, and it can get bad really fast. Alex Baranowski says, apologies in advance for how long my comment is.
Just a little bit of money.
Zachary Lahaki says, God doesn't make mistakes. Then what's this in the Bible? Genesis 6:6, the Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth. What the fuck? Yeah. Jay-Z Meister. Oh, yeah, I already read Jay-Z's Meister's thing. All right, let's continue.
The panda's thumb is a terrible design, according to most of the skeptics, because it's not opposable.
I don't think any of the skeptics say that it's a terrible design. No, like, if we think of like how we normally think of thumbs, yeah, sure, it's a terrible design for an opposable thumb because it's not opposable, so that would be a terrible design. But as we understand it scientifically and from an evolutionary standpoint, the panda's thumb isn't a terrible design necessarily. It's just a natural one. It's one that developed naturally. So it wouldn't be in like what function does it provide, like the pandas. It would, the poor design would be in like, you know, well, if it was shaped this way, then it could do its job better. Because we as skeptics, and scientifically minded skeptics at that, we understand that the panda's thumb is used to strip bamboo for food. And so it's like, well, how could this be designed better to accomplish this task? That's how it would be a bad design. But it seems like J. Warner Wallace is trying to form this in the idea that skeptics think it's a bad design because we expect all thumbs to be opposable. And that's just not how we see this particular appendage of the pandas. We understand that it has a specific purpose and a specific reason why it evolved that way. And so as far as the design goes, for the purpose that it's meant to accomplish or meant for, it seems like there probably could be a much better design if an intelligent creator actually designed that animal. That's what we're saying. We're not saying the shit that he's saying.
It seems like it's out there and it really can't do much. You can't hold anything with the panda's thumb. So the question we really have is remember one thing. As Christians, we believe in evolution of sorts.
That's broad brushing the Christian community there, because not all Christians believe in evolution, even just microevolution. Like that they'll what they call microevolution. Like I said before, evolution is evolution is evolution. They call it microevolution, or better known as adaptation. Like some of them believe in that, but there are some that don't even believe in that. Like the Creation Museum, AIG, Answers in Genesis, Ken Ham, all them, they think that animals were made as they exist now. Like specifically that no speciation has occurred, right? Right. They believe in what they call an orchard of life. So basically God created these basic forms that we find things in, and despite their genetic links to other organisms in different clades, he wants to say that they all started off in these very generic forms and then they deviated, right? But still staying like a cat or a dog. Wolves, I guess, would also be another fucking bush in this orchard. But, so that's what some people think. And these deviations are not necessarily like species, because like they would put like in the dog bush, they would have all the different kinds of dogs that we have now. And I feel like they wouldn't recognize wolves as being part of the canine family, or some of them might. I don't know. It's kind of difficult to know where a creationist is going to draw the line on these different orchard bushes. But in any case, he's painting Christians with a broad brush here. Not all of them believe in evolution of a sort. They would vehemently deny that.
We do, if you think about it. We believe in change over time within the species. Look at all the diversity in this room right now. There's an incredible amount of human diversity in this room, yet all of us are so allegedly, according to Christianity, the product of two sources, Adam and Eve, right?
And that's bullshit. Well, technically, true. We in Christian theology, we are the products of two individuals at the start, but then we're also the product of 8 individuals later on. But this is essentially making the case for, brother, sister, cousin fucking. And I don't think that he necessarily wants to make that case, because I don't think he's from Alabama. But I've got plenty of videos on my channel explaining why this is not feasible from a population genetics stance. Like the minimum viable population for a group of organisms to survive with enough genetic diversity is the 5500 rule, which is a very generic rule for things. But the 5500 rule says that you need at least 50 individuals to stave off the effects of inbreeding, and then you need 500 individuals to stave off the adverse effects of genetic drift. So, considering this, Gesundheit. Considering this, there's no way that... Yeah, I got notifications on. Considering this, there's no way that Adam and Eve could have populated the world, and there's no way that 8 individuals could have repopulated the world. I don't care how much fucking you do, it's just not going to happen. Jester Lord of Fool says pandas proved intelligent design when they became asexual.
And then this another funnel point occurs at the flood, where now suddenly it's Noah and his 3 sons and their 3 wives that become the next funnel point for all. Yet look at all the diversity.
Okay, so right here, he's kind of explaining what he means by diversity, which is kind of what I thought that he meant by diversity, because like all humans, while we are diverse, we're not different organisms. Like we're not different species. So what he's making the case for specifically is that God created organisms as they exist, and then adaptations occurred, but they didn't change species. And so he sees like God would have created a dog, or well, I guess technically at that point it'd be 2 dogs so that they could fuck, 2 dogs, and they were the same kind of dogs.
Hey, dipshit. This person just bought you a beer.
Thank you there, Jester, for buying me a beer. God created these 2 dogs so that they could fuck and produce dogs. And then through all of the inbreeding of these 2 dogs and their offspring and everything like that, they produce this vast diversity of the types of dogs that we have now. Notice that they're still all what we consider dogs, like morphologically, what we would consider to be dogs. This isn't like, oh, it was an animal and then there's wolves, which would be a separate species, and then there's the domesticated dog that we have now. He's making the argument that God created dogs, and then there's diversity that got introduced into dogs somehow. Well, Well, it's not really adaptation. Like he's That's not what he's arguing? It doesn't seem to be. Because like when he talks about how there's diversity in the human race, I mean, there are adaptations. Like there's certain South Pacific groups of peoples that have developed an adaptation to allow them to stay underwater longer. But that's not what he's talking about here. He's talking about morphologically, humans look different all over the world. He's not talking about, oh, well, this particular group developed an adaptation so they could stay underwater longer. This other group over here developed an adaptation so that they could survive in lower temperatures longer. That's not what he's talking about here. He's just talking about how people fucking look. And so that's what he's talking about. So it's like the dogs develop, and which ironically the dog breeds develop through incestuous sex, through inbreeding. So, I mean, I guess he's not too far off from that right there. But in any case, he's making the case that the 2 dogs were created and then, just how different they look. Not that they develop different adaptations to allow them to survive in the environment that they're in. Like, one dog has a thicker fur coat so that they can live in colder climates and everything like that. And then you got the Chihuahua, who's a nervous, wreck that lives in Mexico or something. That's not what he's talking about here. He's just saying shit looks different, therefore they are different, kind of thing.
So I don't think you could take a snapshot of Adam and Eve. They would look very different than a snapshot of us today, any marriage couple today. Why? Because over time, the environment, and we've been designed with enough flexibility in our genome to adapt to our environment. Now, we're not going to adapt so much that we'll be a giraffe in 5 generations or whatever, 5 million generations. But the point is...
Well, see, that right there is a misunderstanding of evolution and what evolutionary theory says, because what he just described right there is a violation of the law of monophyly. Humans can't become giraffes because giraffes are part of a completely different clade. Whatever we do eventually evolve into, we will still be considered part of the clade that we're in now. So it's not that we're going to become giraffes or we're going to jump species or something like that. It's just that, we're going to become something different. Just like with giraffes evolved from previous common ancestors with other animals, and they just had a need to develop differently given their environment. So, he's describing breaking the law of monophyly, which is not what evolutionists or what scientifically minded people say about, the evolution of organisms. There you go.
We have enough flexibility in our genome to adapt. So sometimes when you take a picture of whatever it is today, the panda, for example, just the same way the picture of any pair of us does not give us an accurate picture of Adam and Eve, the optimal design, the original design, before entropy and environment and all the other stuff plays on the species, that would not be an accurate picture of Adam and Eve.
Now, I agree that when Homo sapiens first developed out, of our common ancestor, I would definitely agree that if you took a snapshot of what they look like and a snapshot of a modern human individual, you could tell a difference, but they're still the same species. We're not morphologically all that different, although, we do have differences depending on where, people are located in the world. And so we've gone through adaptation in that kind of sense. But I feel like what he's saying here is that there's a limitation on how much an organism can change, or at least that seems to be the implication of it. Is there's an implication of
we got a new member.
What up there, Sinvia? Being gifted a membership. Hell yeah, making it rain all them emojis. For some reason, it causes it to go twice. I guess because Quentin did it once, and then there's another message for him for Sin getting it. Thank you so much there, Quentin, for gifting, and welcome to the Mafia there, Sinvia. All right, so he's got the presumption that there's a limit to how much an organism can change, because an organism, to him, arbitrarily, is constrained by their species. So like a human will always be considered a human, and it will never change species, when in reality there is the possibility of us changing species at some point in our future history. Just like for any other organism in the past, there's they could change enough to be considered a different species. The best example that you can give, counterexample to what he's saying, is ring species, because a ring species starts out with a common ancestor, and then this common ancestor group splits off into two different directions. And there's different environments in each direction, and so the organisms over time, they change enough.
We got a new member.
What's up there, Dr. Tapioca Weasel? Thanks for becoming a member. So they change enough by the time that they meet up again sometime in the future. Each group has changed enough to where they can't reproduce with one another, and so what that seems to indicate is that there's not really a limit on how much an organism can change. I mean, bigger changes will of course take longer and longer amounts of time, but I mean, like the land organisms that we have today, they all developed out of a common ancestor that crawled out of the ocean. However many billions of years ago, or millions of years, billions of years ago, and that's the. On any other day, I'd be able to tell you what this fucking Tiktaalik. Everybody's saying it in the chat, like as I'm figuring it out too. Tiktaalik. Tiktaalik is that alligator looking kind of thing. And it's the first species that we've got record of that made its way onto land. Everything developed out of that, like all the land animals and everything like that, they developed out of that. And even some land animals went back to the ocean, as is the case for dolphins and whales. And so, I mean, you have to understand that there's no limit to how much a group of organisms can change over long periods of time. But what J. Warner Wallace is trying to get you to believe is that there is a limit, and that's just not true.
And today's panda is not an accurate picture of what may have been the first panda anymore.
My question is, and I know I stopped it really quick, but my question is, and maybe you guys can think about this as we continue on, why would God create something like organisms that could be shaped and influenced by things that seem to be outside of his control? Because like he's making the case that the environment and all these other things shaped how these organisms look or operate. And so he's trying to make the case that the original panda doesn't look like the pandas that we have now. They just look different, but they're still pandas, right? My question is, why would God create a system that is malleable at all? Why would he create organisms that can change? Why would he not make the most optimal organism for whatever area he's putting them in on the earth? Why wouldn't he do that? Why is it that these organisms change as their environments change? Why wouldn't he just create organisms that fit perfectly into the environment that he fucking put them in? Oh, because God's not real, honey? that makes a lot of sense on all of this, more so than fucking what he's putting down. Olivia Williams says, wasn't the first panda a bear?
Just a little bit of money.
Let's see. What did pandas evolve from? Bears. Yeah. It's just
a little bit of money.
Right here from Wikipedia, giant panda, the normal pandas that we think about with the black and white ones. Molecular studies indicate that giant pandas is a true bear and part of the family Ursidae. These studies show it diverged about 19 million years ago from the common ancestor of the Ursidae. It is the most basal member of this family and equidistant from all other extant bear species. So yeah, it was a common bear ancestor that the modern pandas developed from. So you're right. Thank you, Olivia, for that. Vanta Blue says organisms change because Lucifer, right? I feel like I need to learn electric guitar so I can just pull it out and be like, Lucifer! And I don't need an electric guitar? Okay. I got a uke and that's enough?
You also have a
Maybe you should
Yeah.
quit drinking all that beer, GE.
I need to find it. It's somewhere like up here. I just gotta find it. Look, Kretzia Cosplay says, I forgot to send in my tithe. I got distracted. Forgive me, Spaghetti Monster.
Because we know that over time, the environment does have an effect. And we are in a fallen world. We would expect that under Christianity.
So, just to catch you up, the reason why God's design isn't perfect or isn't perfectly optimized for the environment that the organisms live in is because a woman ate from the wrong tree. She was told not to, and she fucked up genetics for everybody.
She also fucked up childbirth for everybody.
She fucked up childbirth too, that's right. Casey, I don't know if y'all can hear Casey, but she goes, stupid bitch. But so a woman ate fruit from a tree, and that caused a molecular change in all organisms. I think that they don't know how all this, because at the heart of this, what it requires is magic. Like, I would totally expect this kind of logic out of like Once Upon a Time, you know, the TV show Once Upon a Time. Like, this sounds like the kind of ridiculous shit that you would find in a fairy tale, right? I'm not saying that Christianity is a fairy tale. I'm just saying that this is the kind of magical thinking that would make sense in a world where magic is real.
So in the end, we end up, number one, making the mistake of saying, well, your eyeball, the way it is today, was part of the optimal design. Well, how do you know that? How could you ever know that?
I think the better question would be, why would God create an imperfect design? And of course, he's going to say, well, God didn't create an imperfect design. It was man who decided to fuck up and change God's design. Casey goes, fucking rude. But but still, that further begs the question of, why would God create a design that can be changed? Also, is God not powerful enough to create something that is impervious to change from lower beings like humans? Like, I feel like he's not doing his theology any kind of favors by suggesting this, because he's sitting there and he's like trying to spin this kind of story. He's like this. All right, now listen, I know God created everything, right? But he made it in a way to where eating from the wrong tree that they didn't know it was wrong to eat from, they were just told, don't eat from this tree.
You know, donating this much only makes me drink more.
They didn't know that it was wrong to eat from this tree, but they ate from it anyways, and that fucked up their genetics, and so therefore now nature can affect their genomes. Okay, like they go through adaptation and everything like that. If they hadn't have eaten from it, it would have been fine. We would have been a perfectly designed creature. But since they ate fucking fruit, we got fucked up.
Just a little bit of money.
Alex Baranowski says, I just realized he has a little microphone around his cheek, not a big wart. Vanta Blue says, the apple on that tree was his Achilles heel. Also, I don't know if you guys have noticed yet, but keep a watch on J. Warner Wallace's waist. On his, this side, like, of him, his right, my right, it would be y'all's left, I believe. He's got a badge. He's a retired detective. Most of the time, retired detectives, as we found on the internet and stuff, most of the time, you know, they keep their badges in a shadow box, you know, to display. And then on occasion, police chiefs can issue special badges for retired police officers that indicate that they are retired. But I feel like he wears a police badge as part of his costume, because he's got this whole persona of like, I'm a retired homicide detective and cold case detective, and so like part of his costume is this badge, and I feel like it's kind of ridiculous that he wears it to all these things, but it's whatever. I mean, I fucking wear costumes too.
That's a kind of an assumption, isn't it? Also, the next thing is, well, how do you know what it is that God had designed this thing for? Yeah, you're right. That the panda cannot hold a bottle of water or a Monster drink, which I like to drink in the afternoons. Okay, I'll just be honest. Energy drinks. A panda cannot hold an energy drink, given that panda's thumb is not opposable. But that's not what the panda's supposed to do with that hand. If the panda's supposed to use that hand to strip bamboo, which is his primary source of food, that's an excellent thumb. It doesn't.
I know I'm interrupting him in the midst of all of this, but that is not what scientifically minded people, I keep wanting to use their words, evolutionist, but just reasonably minded scientific people that accept evolution for the fact that that is simply not the case that we make. Like, that's not what people make. People don't say, oh, well, why can't a panda chug a Four Loko and go fucking nuts in the middle of a jungle? Like, that's not the case that we make. The case that we would be making, if it is a bad design, which more than likely, given that nature is the one that shaped the panda's thumb, there are improvements that could be made that would allow the panda to strip bamboo better in some kind of way, either faster or more efficiently or something like that. Like, there's improvements that can be made if an intelligent designer did it. But of course, J. Warner Wallace is saying, hey, maybe this isn't the optimal design. Maybe adaptation took over and changed the panda bear to have this kind of thumb. Or maybe he's saying, well, we don't know what these design features are meant to fulfill, so therefore we just have to figure out what they're designed for. Casey said, to be fair, J. Warner Wallace wouldn't know intelligence if it slapped him in his face. I'm guessing it was a dick slap. I did. Hey, I noticed Syrian saying, ha ha ha, panda drinking Four Loko. Watch any of those cute fucking panda videos from a zoo or whatnot. If they're not drinking Four Loko, somebody's slipping vodka into their water, okay? Because they are just fucking all over the place, rolling all over themselves, falling from high heights. It's like, come on, Jerry, don't climb that big ass tree. You've had four Lokos. And he's like, ah! And he just fucking falls. Anyways, that would be I feel like that's a better question for J. Warner Wallace to acknowledge here than, like, what about his fucking thumbs? I don't care about his fucking thumbs there, J. Warner Wallace. What I care about is, why did God make pandas somewhat suicidal by causing them to just hurl themselves around the place and be like little crash test dummies all over the wood? Because you would think that, oh, that's not something that I need to design into these little shits. But apparently they went fucking nuts when Eve ate from the tree of knowledge. And they were like, oh shit, from the tree of knowledge. Time to yeet ourselves off of this planet. Casey says that pandas are naturally on bath salts. Bath salt pandas. Isn't that a perfect name for a band?
Exactly what it ought to do. So in other words, we kind of import what we expect God to be trying to achieve, And that may not be what God's trying to achieve anyway. And then we also assume that whatever form we have today was the optimal original design, which isn't necessarily the case.
So,
well, so let me get this straight. Let me see if I understand his argument here. Maybe I'm misunderstanding something. Maybe people in the chat right now can kind of correct me on my understanding of what he is saying here. He's saying that, like, apparently nature made the panda's thumbs worse in respects for drinking Four Locos, but better to strip, bamboo, strip bamboo so that they can eat it. But that's obviously not the optimal design. And he's saying, I guess the optimal design for the panda's hand is that it's just a full opposable thumb, and that, pandas were just like, furry fat people. I mean, like, pandas were furry fat people, and then nature fucked them up and took away their opposable thumbs so that they could just eat bamboo. I've never tried to eat bamboo, but we've got a bamboo plant down below, and I got to tell you, I'm not really looking to eat the bamboo from that. So, that's me importing my modern sense of shit onto things, I guess, like he was saying.
Next time I make stir fry or something, I'll get bamboo shoots and you can eat bamboo.
That wasn't me saying I want to eat bamboo.
I'm just saying that's a normal thing to put in Chinese food, bamboo shoots.
Oh, bamboo shoots is something normal to put in Chinese food?
Yeah.
Don't tell the Chinese places around here.
Bamboo shoots and water chestnuts.
Water chestnuts fine, but bamboo shoots, I'm not sure.
Are like water chestnuts.
People are saying bamboo is edible. God damn it, G.
It is. I bet you've had it and you just didn't know
I mean, maybe. I'm just saying the bamboo that we got growing in a heart shape down there is.
We're not eating that.
But in any case, so that's what he's saying. He's saying that I feel like what he's saying is that pandas were actually small, furry, fat people that eventually were changed by their environment and removed their opposable thumbs so that they could, eat bamboo more efficiently. Which is not scientifically is not how we would analyze this. We would wonder, why on earth would God create pandas and create them with such horrible designs for eating their main food source, bamboo? Why wouldn't he make certain improvements so that they would be more efficient at it in one way or another? Like, that's the argument that we would make, not this whole shit of like, well, we don't know what the original design was. We just know how they exist now. And we don't need to try to assume that pandas want to drink Four Locos all the time. Maybe they just want to gnaw on some bamboo shit.
They like rum chata.
Rum chata? What the fuck's rum chata?
Something you're not allowed to drink because you're diabetic.
Oh. Has it got a lot of sugar in it?
It's a Mexican drink.
Oh, it's a Mexican drink. Okay, I got it.
do I hear you say that you can't really talk about perfect design per se, but we're talking about optimal design.
Optimal design, yes.
Right.
And every time any design, I can tell you that I used to have a slide where I would show my master's thesis was a law and fire facility in Santa Barbara.
Good for you. The whole optimal design discussion here is that, he's saying that we can't know what the optimal design originally was. We just know what the design, I guess, or the result of the design now with the effects of the environment and Eve's bad decisions. That's what he's saying. And so this optimal design, I guess, would be the fully opposable thumbs for the pandas. But there were still pandas, and there were still crazy as shit sniffing bath salts. They just had opposable thumbs, maybe. I mean, I don't know, but it kind of seems like he's sort of moving the goalposts here. Because as far as like evolution goes and unguided evolution, which is what would be the response here to the shit that J. Warner Wallace is saying is, you know, the panda's thumb and this thumb that's developed in multiple species, it's shaped by nature to do a job, bamboo stripping, and it does it well enough to where it accomplishes the task. There are, you know, probably improvements that can be done that would improve the efficiency of stripping the bamboo so that they could eat it. But as far as nature goes, you know, it evolved the way that it did, and that's just how they developed. This takes place over millions and millions of years. This is the actual scientific view of that, not the shit that he is saying.
That was my graduate work. We designed this huge building that was a whole city block long. And man, I wanted certain design features that I really wanted because it would line up certain towers certain way on the building. But because I knew I had to accomplish certain design features, I had to make modifications to get the optimal design, which was always an act of compromise. I'm here to tell you, if you've ever designed, design is a continual act of compromise to achieve the optimal design in which one feature is always being compromised for the benefit of some other thing you're trying to achieve.
Now, from a human perspective, I would agree totally that would be the design process of constant compromise on, well, you know, we need to do this, so we can't do that. But the thing is that we need, like, when you're designing something, you have a specific goal in mind, and you want to optimally design whatever you're building to achieve that goal. So, like, for instance, sharks need fins and need the ability to do all the things that they do in the water. It's not an optimal design to put freaking lasers on their heads, right? That would be an extreme example of this compromise that J. Warner Wallace is talking about. Like, God, in his infinite wisdom, compromised and said, well, sharks, what they really need is this kind of skin right here, these fins, the massive jaws and everything like that. But it doesn't really work for lasers to be on their heads, so I'm going to have to compromise because I really want laser sharks rather than just regular old sharks because lasers are fucking cool. So I'll have to compromise and not put lasers on the shark's head. Like I feel like that's an extreme example, but it is an example of what he's talking about here and God compromising for stuff. Because when I'm designing something or I'm coming up with a design for something, I'm not thinking, well, I have to compromise, like adding this thing that doesn't help me attain my goal versus this thing over here. And how this relates back to the whole panda thing is that if God were to design the panda the way that the panda like eats and the environment that it lives in and its primary food source, why would he not design the panda with the thumb that it has now? It kind of seemed like J. Warner Wallace was supposing, well, we don't know what the original panda was. It could have had opposable thumbs, drank 4 Locos, sniffed bath salts, and then somersaulted off cliffs. We don't know if that was the panda or if it was something else, like more optimal. But considering that we only find pandas in areas where bamboo is their primary food source, it seems to me like God would design them with that fucked up thumb to be able to strip the bamboo. But considering that you could make improvements to it to make it do its job better, why didn't God design it that way? Why didn't God design the panda's thumb to do the job better than it actually does? Like this panda's thumb, it scrapes off like 100% of all the edible shit off this bamboo. It does its job perfectly. Why couldn't God do that if he's all powerful? Also, why did God make such a fucked up system like how genes copy and split and all this other stuff? Why did he make that so prone to genetic mutation? Why did God make his creations so prone to modification by the environment and other factors. Like, why did he do any of this shit? Like, these are the questions that should be analyzed here, not this bullshit that J. Warner Wallace is coming at us with.
That is just the nature of design. Because it's the base nature of design, you can't violate it. This is the case with us, too. So to say that it's perfect, well, what do you really mean by perfect? What you really mean is optimal, and then that's the art of compromise. That's just the nature of design.
So, for example, your laptop, which was here just a minute ago, it's portable, but it doesn't have the kind of computing power of, say, the NASA supercomputer.
Right.
But NASA supercomputer is way too big to carry around, but it has lots of horsepower.
Sure.
So it's a bit of a give and take.
And you know that even when you try to design anything on your own.
Well, hold on. Yeah. I mean, the phones that you are either watching the stream on or carry around you all the time are vastly more powerful than the computers at NASA back in the 60s and the 70s. Okay? Like, that's just the nature of technology. Like, it gets more advanced and it gets more powerful. So, like, and those things were intelligently designed, but they were intelligently designed by limited intelligent beings. But so what we're talking about is this vast intelligence that knows everything, that knows the perfect design. He knows how to create a phone that will never run out of space, or seemingly never run out of space. He knows that design, but yet he chooses to make an inferior design. I mean, imagine that. Putting it into the analogy that this guy is presenting here, it would be a lot like a NASA engineer or an computer engineer or whatever in the 60s making the conscious decision to make an inferior product when he could make the perfect product. He could make the perfect phone. He could make the perfect computer, but he chooses not to. He chooses instead to make this inferior design. Why does that happen? Why does that seem to happen? That is the question that should be answered here. Not, well, we don't really know what was originally done. It's like, we know what was originally done in the case of computers. Like, and just because we don't know the original, design that God came up with, it doesn't mean that there are flaws in, that doesn't mean that there's not flaws in his quote unquote designs now, or whatever proposed perfect or optimal design God came up with, there weren't better design options available. I feel like he's not addressing the actual problem here, but I mean, that's all apologists.
If you ever try to build something, you're always compromising. Either something you're trying to, it's cost, or you're doing 5 of these. It's expediency. It's whatever it may be. But it's really about the optimal design in that environment, which is not going to be perfect in some other environment. So I think these are the kinds of choices we typically think, well, couldn't God just make all, look, God, I guess you could say God could do a lot of things. God could actually make it so you never have to make a free choice to accept him. You could immediately be born with belief. But what if God's actually trying to achieve something in you based on the way he's designed us? What if he's trying to achieve something in the freedom we have, the freedom to make mistakes, the freedom to actually mess up our environment and create some bad designs 5 generations down the road?
This just sounds like a toxic kind of fuckhead here. Because it's like, yeah, I could create this thing right here to just automatically love me no matter what, but I really want it to love me for me, not because I told it to. So, I mean, I think I'm going to build a whole bunch of guilt and everything into a religion and force them in that way to love me. Because it's like, huh? Through fear. Because it's like, love me or burn in fucking hell, you bitch. Like, that's the way that I want you to love me. I want you to love me because the alternative is fucking hell, literally. Like, is this, I mean, I don't understand why this seems like a good thing to him. Because it's like God created us with free will so that we can make the free will choice to love him or burn in hell. like, yeah, that's not a reasonable decision to make right there. Because it's like you're being lined up. And it's like, do you believe in God? It's either you believe in God or you die right now. It's either you believe in God or you die right now. And they got a gun up to your head, and it's like, which decision are you going to make? It's just so fucking ridiculous.
Right, because of how we live in our environment. But there's some benefit to us that exceeds the impact on design. So I think it's just impossible to kind of play that game where you think you know the mind of God, number one. You think you know what's perfect versus optimal, number two. And you think you have the actual creature you're examining and evaluating, that this eyeball was the same design as the optimal eyeball in Adam.
What we actually know scientifically, as far as the eyeball goes, is that the eyeball slowly developed over millions and millions of years. We have just about every single form that the eyeball has taken extant in animals today, and we can clearly map out a path of like light-sensitive cells in an organism, and then all of those light-sensitive cells collecting into one area, and then eventually moving into this concave sort of eyeball lens sort of structure. So we can map that out evolution through the evolutionary timeline, it developing that way. So has there ever been a perfect eyeball ever designed? It depends on what the need for it was. Like, do these single-celled organisms or these simple multicellular organisms, do they need 20/20 vision, or do they just need the ability to detect where light is and where light isn't? It depends on the environment that they exist within. Eagles, they have amazing sight. They can see, fucking in the water. They can grab fish as they're swimming for their lives and everything like that. But is that the optimal thing for like humans and how we operate? Like, is there any need for a human to be in New York City and be able to spy on somebody in like New Jersey? Like, is there any need for that? It depends on you. If your job is a voyeur, maybe. But my point is that, I don't think that there's any one perfect design for any particular environment. I just think that some adaptations allow organisms to survive in their environment better than other organisms. And so that's the point that J. Warner Wallace isn't getting, is that everything that he's arguing for here, as far as like adaptations and non-optimal designs and all this other stuff, like, this is indicative of a natural evolution, not of an intelligent designer. But he goes the complete opposite direction and says, intelligent designer alert, because obviously God had to design this shit because he has a purpose in mind. And don't even fret about all the genetic diseases. Like, I don't understand what the optimal design like goal would be for bone cancer in general, let alone in children. Or like, what's the optimal design in having a baby born addicted to meth? Like, what is God trying to accomplish with that? I would love for J. Warner Wallace to explain to me how a baby being born addicted to some kind of drug is somehow the optimal design feature for God's purpose for that child.
I mean, so that's not really fair, because that's not a design feature. That's the pregnant person got the baby addicted to this. So it's not that they designed it to be addicted. That's not a design. Like a cleft lip, or disfigurements.
But I mean, you can get back to God's design for that. Like, why would God design a system that would cause that would have those things be a cause? Under naturalism, we understand why those things happen. We understand why babies are born addicted to certain drugs. We understand why cleft lips form and all this other stuff. Like, we understand all those things. My question is, why would God design a system that would allow those things to happen? If God is this magical designer, he would be able to design things in a way to where the poor decisions of the mother to be like on all these drugs or whatnot while she's pregnant, it wouldn't transfer to the child. Like under a naturalistic perspective, we understand why that happens. But under this magical God concept, I don't understand why God would design it.
Just a little bit of money.
I don't understand why God would design it so that the baby would be born addicted, you know? Like, God is the ultimate designer in J. Warner Wallace's view here. And I get that it may not seem on the surface to be a fair comparison because it's not like God designed the child to be, you know, addicted to meth, depending on how you interpret the Bible, because there are certain Bible verses where apparently God stitches us together in the womb, so it kind of seems like God has some kind of control over how we're born and all this other shit. But my point is that God has obviously designed this system where these things happen. And I would think that if you're the perfect designer, just like that NASA scientist or that computer engineer, could develop the perfect system that would not result in computers that can get infected by viruses. But he designs computers that can be infected by viruses. Like that, I don't understand that particular design decision there. Olivia Williams says, the fall, obviously, lol. Thank you there. Thank you, Olivia. We're just about done with this.
That's a mistake to make.
Oh, that was the mistake to make. The assuming shit about God. Well, that's going to be it for our stream tonight. We do have these Skeptic Mafia comments to go through, so if you guys want to stick around for that, I'd appreciate it. I know the Skeptic Mafia would appreciate it. They have a lot of great insights to these videos, so if you will, please stick around. But if you're going to be leaving out, I really appreciate you joining me tonight. Before you leave out, make sure you smash that like button. We're currently at 132 concurrent viewers and only 67 likes. So before you head out, smash that button if you've made it this far. And while you're down there, why don't you consider subscribing if you like this kind of live stream, and make sure that you stick around for next week because we got a lot of great stuff. We have kind of a marathon video to start out next week, but not all videos on my channel are going to be marathon type. So stick around for that. But in any case, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, a wonderful Martin Luther King's Day, or as we call it here in Alabama, Robert E. Lee Day.
I can't even believe you said that.
Well, I'm embarrassed. I live in Alabama, and they celebrate Robert E. Lee Day instead of Martin Luther King Day. Some people, not all people, some people. That's a little embarrassing. But anyways, that's what Alabama does. But anyways, be sure to smash that like button, and I guess we will see you guys next week with a message to atheists that I'm going to respond to. So we'll see you guys then. Don't forget to stand up, use your voice, and all that kind of good shit. Bye, heathens. But don't go, because we've got the comments that we need to get to. So let me get those pulled up real quick.
I checked for held, and there aren't any.
Okay.
Or there weren't at least a half hour ago.
Yeah, I just double checked. There's no held. All right, here we go. All right. Jester, Lord of Fools, Says, credit to JWW. I had to look things up. First, the Panda argument comes from a 1978 article from Stephen Jay Gould. So JWW was almost old enough to vote when this argument was proposed and could vote when it was bound into a book 2 years later. Secondly, all the science on panda feet seem to say that the thumb design is so good it hasn't changed in 6 million years, which I believe is 1,000 times longer than JWW thinks the world is. The reason the thumb isn't longer is because they walk on them and they would be at greater risk of breaking while walking. Every other article I saw on panda paws came from creationist organizations. What a shock! Who would have thought that JWW himself, greatest detective ever and lord of the low bars, would ever strawman and use outdated arguments? Fail well, but join the Skeptic Mafia today so that you could put 5 more minutes into researching the topic than the subject of the videos do and have access to the whale pain. The emoji. Jester said, edit explained while the thumb remains tiny and jointless. Yeah, so obviously, I don't know if there's a better way to design the panda's thumb, but if there were a better design, the question would be, why didn't God design it better? But I think that it's good enough at its job that it does it, and it doesn't need to change. So there's no like natural pressures. Right. Well, right. If it did need to change because it wasn't doing its job the way it needed to, then it would change. You're right. But I guess I was speaking in time it would change, not like, it's not like they can Mighty Morphin their fucking thumbs. But I guess I was speaking on the whole perfect design, because on a natural design, like a design or a form that's taken naturally, I wouldn't expect it to be perfect. But J. Warner Wallace was talking about a perfect design. And so if there are improvements that can be made to it, then the question is, why wouldn't God do that? Referencing my computer engineer from the 60s argument earlier, it's like, well, why would you do that, fucker? Command Cyborg says, oh no, this dude, and he's grown a sidekick. The panda's thumb. What's that got to do with anything? Of course, it's not opposable. It's protruding. It's a protruding wrist bone. It doesn't have joints. Yeah, I know you believe in evolution because y'all have to. You just don't accept how far it really goes. The thing with the design is you can start over from scratch, and you can take parts from different existing things and put together, like the Chimera or Centaur, or fitting a Chevy Corvair engine into your VW Beetle. For some reason, the things we find in nature, both extant and extinct, support decent descent with modification and nested clades. We also have simplicity of a hallmark design, so why would God do it the Rube Goldberg way? I don't know. Consider the whale peen. I heard from a bad authority that it's 15 foot long. Smash all the buttons, ring a ding dong, and insert a free shilling here. If you become part of the Skeptic Mafia today, you too can take part in the hangout that we're going to have tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central. I've got kind of a hard quit there, so at about 5, but we're going to be hanging out for about an hour tomorrow, so if you want to join up and hang out with me, please do. That's all, folks. Thank you and good night, world. Transmission terminated. And then we got Jonathan Hanachek, who says, I guess stupid does was stupid what wants to do because it knows no better. Good way to put it, I guess. Olivia Williams says they need to give up the design argument then, because they pretty much admitted there's no perfect design now, and their argument, well, Adam design was perfect, they can't prove that. I agree, they can't prove it. Drew's book review says, after seeing the title of this video, I thought the best thing to do would be to go to the source. So I got on my knees and prayed and asked God why so many of his creations seem to have flaws and imperfections, since he is perfect, all-powerful, and all-knowing. God did, in fact, answer me. This is what God said. Drew, you know by now that I do not exist. Also, nothing is perfect. That really is just not possible. So please quit wasting your time bothering my non-existence and get back to your books. So there you have it for the big man woman thing itself. Until next time, heathens, keep on reading. And then we got Alex's. I'll just read the first little bit here. Okay, why is this intro music to this video like 385 times the volume of the actual video? Because J. Warner Wallace doesn't know how to edit shit and normalize volume. Evolution of sorts, sigh, not one of these people. So I don't really like the design argument from either side. For one, an apologist can get around there are imperfections in this supposed design issue by saying something like we deem things as imperfections from a human perspective, and if God is the designer, we cannot judge his design from our limited point of view, which is a good point. We find judging designs of other humans from a human perspective, but a supposed God is not human. I agree. A supposed God is not human. And wow, that was a lot. Let's see. Finishing up, I have issues with car theists. They're taking things up a notch, though, because now they are going live on TikTok and other apps while driving. So instead of just chatting at a phone while driving, they're actively reading comments and such while driving. Look, even if I disagree with you on the God issue, I don't want to see you kill someone else or yourself in a car crash because of distracted driving. Don't drive distracted. Okay, see everyone tonight. Thank you so much there, Alex. Boom. Oh, this is a reasonable length. Jonathan Nichols says this is what happens when you have Wallace without Gromit watching his back. He starts with a bunch of assertions. He asserts design and he assumes evolution without speciation. He asserts Adam and Eve and he asserts the flood. He is right that we won't have a giraffe in 5 generations, but I'm sure 5 million generations is more than enough time for another species to emerge. It won't be a giraffe, but it will be biologically distinct from us. He says Adam and Eve were the optimal design and that successive generations created imperfections. But if God designed life, would he not also have designed the mechanism of adaptation as Wallace sees it? He is essentially blaming nature for imperfection as though nature was outside of God's control. I guess Wallace doesn't believe in any form of omni-God. Then, of course, he falls back on the fallen world argument, as they always do. I wonder, though, if Wallace says you can have perfect, only optimal, does that mean that God, he believes is optimal and not perfect? I wonder what he'd say to that. Yeah. And then Casey just says, kill me.
Multiple people said no under
Celion D says, yeah, Warner Shorts. First error. The question. No, a design does not have to be perfect. It is absolutely possible to create a product that is intended to break. It is one of the pillars of consumerism. That just makes you a short-term product for said God. Think popcorn. Second, what the hell did I just get exposed to? JWW's objections are invalid. His God is also responsible for the environment, hence no need to ever compromise. Unless you want it that way. There is some unnecessary instability in the design. That is fucked up unless you want to force evolution. But if so, said God just have to jumpstart abiogenesis and eat something while enjoying the show. Once again, popcorn. And then to finish out, they said, worst Warner movie ever, sharing the podium with a Scientology one, Battlefield Earth, to name it. Even the popcorn did not make it enjoyable. Use antiseptics before licking the like on your phones and stay skeptics. Thank you so much there, Celion. Next up, we've got Tomato Chan Zumiti, the Zumiton Zoomer, who says, oh, for the love of chili. Perfect. I did it perfectly. There are design imperfections because humans were not fucking designed. Simple as that. Next on to the ASCII. which seems to be a surprised anime face. Because I'm shocked to say, shocked. Okay, I'm not so shocked. My first attempt at a Tomato Girl ASCII art, by the way. You like? I mean, it's nice. I mean, that's pretty good ASCII art right there. Anyways, enough of that. Lick the like, share, subscribe bell, all the YouTube thingies, and remember, I am not food! But I mean, I had tomato soup the other day, so there's that. Green Jealousid says they presume God is there. How do they not realize this? I can't live like that. Yeah, the presumption of God is very, indicative in their explanations. So of course they're going to presume God. Kolosike. I like how you changed your name there. Kolosike says, JWW, I'm certain he will investigate thoroughly. God, the genocide artist, should be the oldest cold case there is. Appeared to be in design perfections? Appear? Just to answer the riddle of the laryngeal nerve. So, if you guys don't know what that is, specifically in giraffes. So there's this nerve that is sort of inconveniently like wrapped around the laryngeal nerve. In giraffes, it's really odd, which I think maybe that's, is that what I'm thinking of? There's a blood vessel or a nerve in giraffes that the origin is like up here and the destination's the brain. But for some reason it goes down, it loops, and then it comes back up. And so for like giraffes, it makes literally no fucking sense as to why that would be. Hey,
y'all know what? Any time is a good time for a beer.
I don't know if that's the nerve that's being talked about there, but there's a lot of biological things that need to be explained if it's like perfect. Let's see. Was God subcontracting and selling it by the foot? A several meter detour, excusable for evolution, or maybe moron designed. Is this Joker the VP for Low Bar Bill? I mean, I feel like Low Bar Bill has really dug himself a hole, primarily because of his whole Pascal's wager thing. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to pass up Low Bar Bill there, but, whatever. That's going to be it for the Skeptic Mafia comments. Alex Baranowski says, I'm going to tell you about my whole comment at the Hangout. Okay. Can't wait to hear that there, Alex.
I mean, anybody can just go and read it. Any of the members can go and read it.
Yeah, they can. Let's see. Just checking to make sure I didn't miss any super chats or anything like that. Well, I really appreciate all you heathens here. We got 98 people watching, only 85 likes. If you're still watching right now, smash that like button. Next week, there's this message to atheists that's kind of been going around. I've seen it on a few channels, and I decided to take a crack at it, but my crack at it ended up being nearly an hour long. So we're going to have kind of a marathon video on Monday where this guy's got a message for atheists out there. And so I just give him my sincere response to it. And then later on in the week, we're probably going to be responding to this Muslim argument for God. And, and then we're going to do other things. I'm going to have shorts that are going to be going out on the channel. I've been doing a little bit more of those because YouTube's really pushing those. So if you like them, make sure you smash the like on those shorts. And, I guess I'll see all the members tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central because we're going to have a Hangouts and, I'll be putting that link up tomorrow. And I guess I will see you heathens later. Thank you so much for all of the super chats tonight. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens.